Tonight, a local university is trying to figure out how to preserve the oldest unrestored church in the country while also making a necessary update. A lengthy investigation, a suspended superintendent, and now a Harlandale ISD school board trustee is stepping down. And it's an important and complex topic that likely affects you. We're going to tell you everything you need to know about rising property taxes. Thanks for joining us for this special hour-long edition of KSAT News at 9, live right here in the KSAT 12 newsroom. I'm Myra Arthur. New tonight, yet another inmate mistakenly released from the Bexar County Jail. Tonight, the sheriff's office saying the deputies realized Traco White was erroneously released around 5 this evening. Within an hour, he was back in custody. White was initially booked on a family violence charge. BCSO says they are looking into this error. It comes after another release that wasn't supposed to happen. That went on Sunday. That's when a convicted felon arrested in connection with an auto theft was mistakenly released from the Bexar County Jail. Mission Concepcion is the oldest unrestored stone church in the country at 303 years old. The church is in need of a new AC unit, but there's a problem. If you put a modern AC unit into a 300-year-old church, that could potentially damage it. Sarah Acosta with how UTSA is tackling the problem in hopes of finding a solution.
It's a beautiful thing.
Melissa and Enrique Mejia have been parishioners at Mission Concepcion for 4 years. Enrique had all his sacraments at the church, they were married there, and even had their 7-month-old daughter, Emery, recently baptized at the church. Melissa says to have so many special moments in the 303-year-old World Heritage Site holds a special meaning to them.
I don't think words can really describe it unless you actually go through it.
The Mejias hope those moments can be preserved, and preservation is the goal behind a recent University of Texas San Antonio study of the church. The church's AC unit is 30 years old and badly needs to be updated. But there's a major problem. Putting a modern-day AC unit in a 300-year-old limestone church can cause some major damage because the church wasn't built to have an AC unit. It's not like a normal building that has insulation.
They are not well designed for this kind of environment, this kind of temperature difference. We have probably 30, even some days have 40 degrees difference between inside and outside. So that creates like huge stress on the walls.
One of the areas in the church that's suffering the most, a room off to the side where you can see one of the original frescoes, is severely fading. Researchers believe that's because of a high level of moisture in this room.
We install, for example, these data loggers that they record temperature and humidity.
He says he hopes by the end of the year-long study they can figure out what's creating the deterioration, figure out a design for a new AC unit, and also come up with a solution for all the water gathering outside the building. Mejia says he hopes the building can be preserved.
Making sure that we do what we can to preserve it so that other future generations can also experience it and have the same kind of moments that we've shared here.
The study started this June, and UTSA hopes to have all the data collected by the end of this summer and a solution designed by June of 2020. The study is being funded by the Archdiocese of San Antonio. Myra?
All right, thanks, Sarah. New developments tonight out of the Harlandale Independent School District. A school board trustee is stepping down. The resignation announcement of David Abundis follows a lengthy investigation and the suspension of the district superintendent. Abundis served on the board for 13 years. We did reach out to him for a statement. When asked about why he is stepping down, Abundis said, quote, due to the amount of time required of the board position, end quote. He also said he wants to focus on professional and personal obligations. Last month, the Texas Education Agency called for the replacement of the superintendent and the entire school board. This stemmed from an investigation dating back to 2017 into the way the board handled contracts and allegations of nepotism and Open Meetings Act violations. Superintendent Reynaldo Madrigal was suspended with pay. Besides Abundis, the rest of the school board remains in place despite the TEA calling on them to be replaced. A special meeting regarding this situation will be held on Monday. Now let's turn to the 9 at 9 tonight. These are some of the biggest stories making headlines around the world, around the country, and right here at home. New details tonight about a suspect accused in a local shooting. A pilot's emergency landing in the Atlantic Ocean, all caught on camera. And deputies in Oklahoma convince a standoff suspect to come out of his house with the help of a cheeseburger. Here's tonight's 9 at 9. New information about the suspect accused of shooting 4 people and shooting at a 5th on San Antonio's north side yesterday evening. Today, we've learned Quentin Thomas had a warrant out for his arrest in Louisiana related to a pawn shop burglary in April. Here in San Antonio, he's charged with 5 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon related to yesterday's shooting. Thomas was arrested by Police Chief William McManus.
I'm glad the chief was in the area.
Once the aggravated assault charges are finalized here, Thomas will be extradited back to Louisiana. A 62-year-old Houston woman shot and killed while riding in a car. Police say she was coming home from a doctor's appointment with her husband. They believe the couple got caught in the crossfire of a road rage incident between 2 other parties. No arrests have been made. San Antonio police and Crime Stoppers searching for a woman they say intentionally tried to set a patrol unit on fire. This happened back on the early morning of July 5th. According to officers, the woman placed a cup full of ignitable liquid under the frame of the SAPD Tahoe and set it on fire. A patrolman noticed and quickly put it out. A young pilot caught on camera making an emergency landing in the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Maryland.
Bang, bang, bang. What's that noise? And all of a sudden, white clouds coming out like shotgun shells. What's going on? And everybody started running real quick.
The pilot made that emergency landing because of mechanical issues. He was the only person on board and was not hurt. Police in Georgia going undercover to catch drivers breaking the law. Officers are hiding in plain sight, donning yellow vests. Some are even holding surveying gear and shovels. They say during one 3-hour operation alone, they handed out more than 60 tickets. Beachgoers in Georgia worked together to help save 27 beached whales. 2 of those whales died. The Department of Natural Resources says they might have been sick. Experts say whales often travel in packs, so if one falls behind, they won't leave it. That was part of the issue here. Researchers have discovered a 9,000-year-old prehistoric settlement near Jerusalem. Experts say it is the largest known town in Israel from that period. An Oklahoma standoff suspect surrenders for a cheeseburger. The situation started when deputies tried to pull over the man for making an illegal turn, but he didn't stop. Instead, he drove home and locked himself inside. At that point, other agencies were called in. The area sheriff called him on his cell phone. The suspect explained that he was just hungry, and in his rush to pick up a burger, he didn't notice deputies trying to pull him over. The sheriff then made him an offer to get him out of his trailer.
You want that cheeseburger?
Yeah.
All right, let's go get a cheeseburger.
The standoff ended safely, and the suspect did get his meal. Take a look at this. A French inventor and entrepreneur pilots this hoverboard over the city of Paris. The board can reach an altitude of nearly 500 feet and a speed of 87 miles an hour. The inventor's next goal is to fly the board from France to England. To read more about these 9 stories, go to ksat.com/news@9. Bexar County Sheriff Javier Salazar now has a challenger in the race for sheriff. The former chief criminal investigator for the Bexar County District Attorney's Office has thrown his hat into next year's race. Willie Ng Jr. officially declared his candidacy for sheriff on Friday. He was formerly with the San Antonio Police Department. He is a former member of the Secret Service Task Force as well. Current Sheriff Javier Salazar announced last month that he would seek re-election. Meteorologist Katie Blake joining us tonight, and of course, this is the question we ask 1,000 times this year. How hot is it gonna be tomorrow?
Yeah, still hot. Still hot through the weekend. We're going to stay in a pretty stagnant weather pattern through the end of the weekend, but we're looking at the middle of next week. That's when we could start to see things shake up a little bit in terms of both rain chances and maybe dropping our temperatures a few degrees. That would be pretty nice. Today's high temperature 96, 1 degree above the average this time of year, which is 95. It was hotter off to the west. That's where your dew point temperatures were a little bit lower. That allowed temperatures to sneak up a few more degrees. But look across the country today. So we were at 96. It was 96 in Dallas, 101 in Wichita. Chicago, not that much cooler than we are, despite a big spread in longitude here. And there's going to be a lot of heat building across the country over the next few days. So their air temperatures will be approaching 100 degrees across parts of the Midwest. But check out their dew points. Their dew points are higher than ours in some spots. Look at Memphis, 79. It is incredibly muggy there. So the heat index It's going to be a huge issue for parts of the Midwest and the Northeast, folks that are not used to dealing with such oppressive heat. So the heat index is an apparent temperature. That's what is perceived by our bodies. It's like the wind chill. It's what it feels like to us, and that's when we factor in the dew point, which goes into relative humidity. So the heat index is actually this big long equation. Thankfully, we don't have to calculate that every time, but it takes into account the air temperature and the relative humidity, which also takes into account the dew point. So the higher humidity, the higher the dew point is, coupled with the temperature, that's where we get the heat index, or what it feels like to us. And if those heat index numbers can get high enough, that can put a big strain on our body. So while we are looking at a heat index 100 to 105 the next few afternoons, the heat index across parts of the Midwest and Northeast will be above 110 degrees. Those folks are not used to that. So there's going to be big heat building across other parts of the country, but thankfully everyone will catch a break. Middle of next week, we should see a big weather pattern change, and I'll be back in a few minutes, Myra, to talk about what that could mean for us here at home.
All right, glad there's no quiz on that equation either.
No way.
Thanks, Katie. Now to the story of a hero. The actions of a U.S. airman stationed right here in San Antonio have earned him a Silver Star Medal. It was in January 2018 when a U.S. Special Operations team in Afghanistan, which included Technical Sergeant Michael Perolio, met with an Afghan militia group to establish a united front against ISIS in that region. As the team was leaving, they were betrayed by that militia, who began firing at them from a nearby rooftop. Perolio fired back in an effort to move his team to safety. He was able to call in an airstrike while simultaneously tending to 3 people who were critically wounded. That included Captain William Lance Clark, who was shot twice.
Guys like that, of that nature, that can kind of really come through in some really, really horrible situations. We're just, really thankful and lucky to have him as a friend.
A hero indeed. The Silver Star Medal is the nation's 3rd highest medal for gallantry against an armed enemy of the United States. There is a lot more ahead on KSAT News at 9 tonight, including for the first time in more than 2 decades, the number of overdose deaths decreased in 2018. Plus, the presidential candidates in the 2020 race releasing financial reports this week. We'll talk about the big takeaways about how the candidates are raising and spending their money.
You wouldn't spend $5 for this apple
when you could buy this one for 45 cents.
So when it's time to replace your windows at your home, don't spend more for the same exact thing. Right now, get 8 white double-hung windows for $31.95 installed with a lifetime warranty. But don't wait, this is a limited time promotion, and don't forget to check out our great reviews online.
Let the Window Source of San Antonio help you save money.
Call us today, 210-549-4204. The Window Source of San Antonio.
Bank for a cause today with a mortgage checking account from Broadway Bank. Together, we are making a difference.
Hi, I'm Daniel Baldwin, and I'm a drug addict, but I've been sober for years. Every day I get emails from parents concerned about their son or daughter. Is this the time they're going to go to jail, or even worse, die? It doesn't have to be that way.
Best decision I ever made, calling sober. My son's got over 2 years clean now. I no longer worry about the phone, except if he has to say,
I love you, Dad. You're going to be a grandfather.
The Sober Recovery Center. Call or text today for help. Freedom awaits.
We are still more than a year away from the 2020 presidential election, but candidates are already raising and spending money to try to get your vote. This week's second quarter financial reports for those in the running were released. They reveal a lot about how the campaigns are shaping up so far. Michelle Lee, who covers money and influence in politics for the Washington Post, joins us now to talk about some of the big takeaways from this report. Michelle, first of all, thanks so much for being with us. One of the biggest takeaways that you noted in the article you wrote was the fact that there is such a big gap between the top fundraisers and the rest of the Democratic candidates.
Yes, the gap was so stark. At the very top, you have 5 candidates: Mayor Pete Buttigieg from South Bend, Indiana, former Vice President Joe Biden, and then Senators Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, and Kamala Harris. They raised each more than $10 million. And then you have 17 candidates way far behind. Now, it's very early, as you noted, but it will be really interesting to see if any of those candidates at the lower end of the fundraisers can make up for any of that gap, because it's so big.
Let's talk about the Republican side of things, the re-election campaign for President Donald Trump. The haul that his camp has pulled in so far, I mean, that's a stark difference between what he has raised up to this point and even those top fundraisers on the Democratic side.
It really is. And what's unique about President Trump is that, unlike the presidents before him, he started raising money for his re-election campaign almost immediately after he became president. Other presidents would wait until the midterms were ended and then they would start raising money, but he really started as soon as he was elected president, so he's had a huge head start. And what President Trump is good at is raising money from both wealthy donors giving large checks to his campaign, and then from small dollar donors giving like $5, $10 at a time. So what the Democrats will have to overcome as they pick their nominee and try to go up against President Trump is to win both of those camps of donors, and that's not very easy.
This second quarter financial report also talked about not only how the candidates are raising money, but how they are spending it as well. And you noted in your article that a lot of them seem to be focused on investing digitally. What exactly does that mean?
Well, you have to win the digital game in order to be able to reach as many voters as possible and try to get your message out there. It's really important, especially right now, to be hiring the right staff, having a good and smart digital investment, doing the digital advertising, doing fundraising well online, because you're trying to catch steam among the voters who may not know you. And so much of the campaign right now is dependent on viral moments. So if you have a tweet that goes really big, if you have a great debate performance, then that could really rack up a lot of money and attention for you.
Michelle Lee with the Washington Post, thanks so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
Every week here on the News at 9, a Washington Post reporter joins us to break down the week's biggest political story. Here's a look at some of the other segments we feature on this newscast. Be sure to tune in tomorrow, any way you stream, to watch a brand new edition of Throwback Thursday. Let's turn now to some of the biggest stories people are talking about tonight. The notorious Mexican drug lord known as El Chapo, sentenced to life in prison. Joaquin Guzman was convicted back in February on multiple conspiracy counts in a drug trafficking case. Guzman is expected to serve out his sentence in the nation's most secure federal prison in Florence, Colorado, where he will likely never be able to see his wife. His attorneys say they are optimistic about his chances on appeal. Prosecutors have dropped the case against actor Kevin Spacey. Spacey was accused of groping a young man at a Massachusetts bar. He had denied those allegations, but the district attorney for the area made the decision to drop this case after the accuser pleaded the fifth on the witness stand. Drug overdoses in the United States declined just over 5% in 2018. That's according to the CDC. According to experts, it's the first time in 25 years that overdose deaths haven't increased from one year to another. The National Center for Health Statistics estimates there were 68,557 drug overdose deaths in 2018. An estimated 47,590 involved opioids. Meteorologist Katie Blake is back with us tonight. You're talking about some changes down the road.
Yes.
But first,
we're going to have to wait a few days. And while it will be hot here in South Texas, like we were just talking about a few minutes ago, other parts of the country, the Midwest, the Northeast, they are also bracing for a legitimate heat wave. I showed you these forecast heat indices. This is what it's going to feel like across parts of the Midwest and Northeast. Look at that tomorrow. Minneapolis, Minnesota with a feels like temperature in the triple digits. Serious heat really sets in on Friday. I think that's going to be the roughest day for the Midwest and the Northeast. Even on Saturday, though, as they head into the weekend, we're going to have heat index readings 111 in Washington, D.C., 104 in New York. I actually think our heat index could be a little bit lower here at home. Reason for all the heat across a good portion of the country is the heat high. It's really expanding, settling in over portions of the southern United States. As we head into the second half of the weekend and early next week, that heat high will move and sit over the west coast. That's going to make a little bit of room in the upper levels of the atmosphere for an upper level low to try to dip down over the Great Lakes and Northeast. Now, some of our forecast models indicate that that could send us a weak cool front by the middle of next week, which would be awesome for July. And we have introduced a chance of showers and storms beginning Tuesday into Wednesday of next week. We're going to keep an eye on that, our forecast model trends, and see what things look like in the coming days, but that could send us a shot at rain and also bring our temperatures down a few degrees, so that wouldn't be too bad at all. We will have to wait for that, though. Tonight, warm and muggy, 78 your low temperature. Tomorrow afternoon, 97 for a high. After some low clouds in the morning, we'll see plenty of sun in the afternoon, and yes, it will be hot again with the heat index 100 to 105 during the heat of the day. Here come those rain chances beginning Tuesday of next week as we hopefully see a big weather pattern change. Myra?
All right, crank up the AC. Thanks, Katie. Property and business owners upset and uncertain as they face the possibility that 4 lakes along the Guadalupe River could be emptied. 2 of the Guadalupe Blanco River Authority dams have already suffered failures. At a packed board meeting, the GBRA discussed draining 4 other lakes by up to 12 feet. Though the GBRA says that decision has not been made yet, they are considering it out of concerns for people's safety in case of another failure.
Yes, because that's what we keep coming back to. We have to mitigate the safety concerns. While we can deploy additional buoys, additional signage, our board could adopt some additional ordinances. At the end of the day, we really cannot keep people out of the water, and so that's what we're trying to address.
The GBRA says its aging dams are near the end of their useful life, but fixing all 6 lakes is a $200 million problem it cannot fund right now. Let's go to our website, KSAT.com, right now to find out what is trending tonight with RJ Marquez.
All right, Myra, it has been busy on the webosphere for us here in the newsroom. First of all, let's start here with the very popular old age filter face app.
They are everywhere.
Yes, I've seen this through all over social media. People here have been taking their own photos, doing this aging thing.
Have you done it?
I haven't done it yet. I'm a little afraid.
You and I, we never take part in these.
No,
trendy
I may
things.
have to. I'm afraid I'm gonna. Yeah, I'm afraid of what I'm gonna see. But so this has become so popular that there are now some privacy concerns over this app. So the company has Russian roots. So people are a little concerned with maybe downloading the app and maybe having their faces uploaded and whatnot. Yeah, a lot of people are having fun with this thing so far. So
yes.
Yeah. All right, moving on here, sticking with all the mobile world fun device stuff here. Today was World Emoji Day, Myra. Were you aware of that?
Yes,
Okay.
I actually did know that.
Okay.
I haven't celebrated or anything,
Right.
but yeah, I did know.
Are you a big emoji user?
I kind of have
person?
1 or 2 go-tos,
Okay.
you know, that I just always sort of use,
Right.
but other than that.
Really the only one that I use is like the thumbs up. I'm a big fan of that. But for people that really want to learn more about the language of the emojis, you could go to our website right now. We have an article here that interprets all the emojis that you would ever want to know for World Emoji Day. All right, hey, speaking of emojis, Myra, so this is a fun article that we have on our website because the lead line here says, get ready to throw some hand-raised emojis for this 35-year-old mom who completed a 26.2-mile marathon, 3 hours, 11 minutes, pushing a triple stroller.
Woo! Wow.
Yeah, this is impressive. So Cynthia Arnold.
Yes.
Yes, definitely. Cynthia Arnold set a new Guinness World Record.
Look at her. Look at that picture.
Kids, there you go. Yeah, her kids are 1, 4, and 6 years old. So, yeah, I could not imagine doing this. I mean, congratulations to this mother right
Yeah,
here.
you go, Mama. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
We have the full story on our website, KSAT.com. It is very impressive. I would definitely advise you guys to check that out.
For sure. All right. Thanks, RJ.
All right. Thank you, Myra.
We'll be right back.
Weeknights, streaming live, KSAT News at 9, Cutting Edge, live from the newsroom.
I'm Myra Arthur.
A new kind of KSAT.
Now let's turn to the 9 at 9 tonight.
The day's most interesting stories in just 3 minutes. Expect information you can put into action. Money, it's personal. Adulting hacks. What's trending online? We're talking about it. And expect some spree thoughts.
A curiosity that sometimes gets me in trouble, Myra.
KSAT News at 9 on your KSAT app.
April 15th is World Art Day, and our city is one great big art exhibit. But AARP in San Antonio thinks today should be your day. So connect with us at our dancing and gardening events. Or explore your neighborhood. We're working with you to make it more livable for everyone. We're here in our community helping you live la vida buena. So give life a splash of color and take on today and every day with AARP in San Antonio.
When you're in Port Aransas, how you experience the island life is up to you. You can soak it in, reel 'em in, go off-road, or go off-land completely. No wonder Port A was just named one of America's best family beaches for 2019. Come stay a week and experience the island life. Go to visitportaransas.com to plan your summer getaway.
Let us give you the confidence of a healthy smile at All Smiles Dental Center. Come visit our friendly staff and family and experience the All Smiles difference. Right now, receive $500 off Invisalign with a free consultation. Come see us at All Smiles today.
At this time of night, the News at 9 usually ends, but not tonight. We still have a lot ahead for you in this hour-long special edition of the 9. Coming up after the break, we are diving into something that many people find painful and frustrating: rising property taxes. What's being done to help you pay less? That and more after the break.
For 35 years, Child Advocate San Antonio has grown to an army of over 600 volunteer advocates leading the fight against child abuse. We fight for their voices to be heard.
For their safety.
For their health.
For their education.
For their future.
For their well-being.
Join us in the fight against child abuse. Together, we are a fortress of hope.
Do you suffer from knee pain? Is this pain preventing you from enjoying your life? Arthritis Relief Centers can help with fast, non-surgical options. Our physicians can provide comfortable pain relief using guided imaging with an FDA-approved solution.
I'm into full motion, no pain, walking, everything just back normal like it used to be. Life is great.
These treatments, supported by medical research, are covered by most insurance, including Medicare. Get the relief you deserve at Arthritis Relief Centers.
You wouldn't spend $5 for this Apple
when you could buy this one for 45 cents.
So when it's time to replace your windows at your home, don't spend more for the same exact thing. Right now, get 8 white double-hung windows for $31.95, installed with a lifetime warranty. But don't wait, this is a limited time promotion, and don't forget to check out our great reviews online.
Let the Window Source of San Antonio help you save money.
Call us today, 210-549-4204. The Window Source of San Antonio.
Hi, I'm Daniel Baldwin, and I'm a drug addict, but I've been sober for years. Every day I get emails from parents concerned about their son or daughter. Is this the time they're going to go to jail, or even worse, die? It doesn't have to be that way.
Best decision I ever made, calling sober. My son's got over 2 years clean now. I no longer worry about the phone, except if he has to say,
I love you, Dad. You're going to be a grandfather.
The Sober Recovery Center. Call or text today for help. Freedom awaits.
Weeknights, streaming live, KSAT News at 9, Cutting Edge, live from the newsroom.
I'm Myra Arthur.
A new kind of KSAT.
Now let's turn to the 9 at 9 tonight.
The day's most interesting stories in just 3 minutes. Expect information you can put into action. Money, it's personal. Adulting hacks. What's trending online? We're talking about it. And expect some spree thoughts.
A curiosity that sometimes gets me in trouble, Myra.
KSAT News at 9 on your KSAT app.
Thanks for sticking with us for KSAT News at 9, streaming from right here in the KSAT 12 newsroom. I'm Myra Arthur. Tonight we're doing something a little bit different. We are dedicating the next 15 minutes of our show to an issue that you have likely felt the effects of: rising property taxes. From what they are to recent moves made to reform them and trends that we have seen about that cost here in our area. We're going to tell you everything that you need to know. So why are we doing this? We know it's certainly not the flashiest topic to cover extensively, but property taxes are important. They affect a lot of us, and something we all value: our money. You've seen it on the news.
Governor Greg Abbott has made it a top legislative priority: property tax reform.
On his list of emergency items, he cited property tax reform.
Two city leaders calling for San Antonio to join the rest of the state with a homestead tax exemption. And in different online publications, homeowners say property taxes are too high. They want and need relief.
Neighbors, you hear them, he says, I can't afford it no more.
And this year, lawmakers heard their call for help. Property values keep climbing across San Antonio and Bexar County. On average, single home values in Bexar County are up 8.7%. So what does that mean for how much you pay? Well, if none of the local taxing entities change their tax rates, then, for example, a homeowner living in the Northside Independent School District whose value grows from $200,000 to $217,000 would pay about $460 more in property taxes. And while property values have been going up all across Bexar County, some areas have felt it more than others. We requested information from the Bexar County Appraisal District breaking down the average residential property appraisal in 2014 and then the average appraisal 5 years later, this year in 2019. We looked at the numbers for every single local zip code and identified the three with the highest percentage increases over those past 5 years. 78234 has seen the largest increase at 229%. This zip code is north of I-35 in the area surrounding Fort Sam Houston. Residential property appraisals on the east side in the 78203 zip code have also increased dramatically at nearly 193%. That area is east of I-37 and just north of Denver Heights. In the Government Hill area, zip code 78208, there's been a property tax increase of nearly 185% over the last 5 years. Southside neighborhoods and areas closer to downtown San Antonio are also seeing some of the steepest climbs. Marilyn Morris shares some of the stories of people living in those areas.
Behind the white picket fence, Mario Alvarez tidies his lawn at his 1,500 square foot home on the south side.
It's a regular house. It's not a fancy house.
He says his new appraisal indicates otherwise. It's up $25,000 from last year. Alvarez paid off his house a few years ago, but the taxes are becoming an increasing burden. He expects to pay about $500 more in property taxes this year than in 2018 if no taxing entity changes its tax rate. His neighborhood isn't the only one seeing that big increase. Denver Heights is another one. The East Side neighborhood has a rich history. It's one of the city's older and historically African-American neighborhoods. Now it's a mix of neatly manicured lawns alongside boarded-up homes with new and long-time residents. That includes Susie Lopez.
Neighbors, you hear them, he says, I can't afford it no more. It's hard for us seniors because you say either you pay your taxes or you stay without a house.
Lopez lives on the edge of Denver Heights in the bungalow she bought for $10,000 when Nixon was president. Now it's valued at 16 times that.
Most of our neighbors moved out already. These are new neighbors.
Property values are through the roof, soaring more than 160% in the past 4 years here. Mostly it's the land. Take this 1920s home. The land alone was valued at $9,700 3 years ago. Now just the land, $94,000.
The East Side is become a hot commodity.
Neighborhood leader Aubrey Lewis points to new housing, restaurants, office buildings, economic growth.
If you look further way out east, look what HEB is doing. They've started at Foster Road coming this way.
Denver Heights is located just across Interstate 37, literally the other side of the tracks from downtown. The east side land is a lot more affordable than prime downtown property or much of Southtown, making it very attractive.
We want to see positive growth here. All business is not good business sometimes.
Property taxes at their most basic level are pretty self-explanatory. They're taxes on property that you own. But things get more complicated when you look at where that money goes, how it's used, what determines how much you owe, and exemptions you can get so that you pay less. Let's start here tonight. There was no state property tax in Texas. Instead, property taxes are paid to local governments, school districts, and other taxing entities. The money is collected by the county tax assessor collector, who then divvies it up among those entities in the county. In Bexar County, there are more than 60 taxing entities. The formula that determines how much you have to pay seems simple, but again, it's more complicated than it looks. So we've broken it down into some simple terms tonight with the help of some well-known building blocks. This is the formula that's used to determine how much you'll pay in property taxes. It might seem simple, but a lot goes into this process. First, the value has to be determined. It starts with the appraisers. They don't set tax rates. They only determine how much your property is worth.
That number is our opinion of what a hypothetical sale price on that property would have looked like on January 1. That's what the state requires.
In Bexar County, there are 55 appraisers. They're in charge of looking at every single house, and there's a lot of them in Bexar County.
We have a little over 580,000, I believe, residential properties to appraise. So no, we don't visit every property every year.
Instead, Chief Appraiser Micah Mesquita says they rely on technology like aerial photography. So how do appraisers calculate your property value? Well, they take a lot of things into account, including those pictures from the air. They also look at the square footage of your home or business, the age, location, and sales data. The sales data includes comparing your property to similar properties that have sold in your area, the sale prices, and the terms and conditions of each sale.
We always say that you know your home better than we do. We're looking at mass volumes of data, and it's conceivable that we overlooked something or we made an error. And if so, the law also requires us not only to appraise at market value, but to look at the individual characteristics of your home.
Once the value of your property is calculated, you subtract any exemptions and then multiply that number by the tax rate. The total tax rate is calculated by adding up all the tax rates for each taxing entity. As we mentioned before, there are more than 60 taxing entities in Bexar County, but you don't pay taxes to all of these. You only pay the ones in your specific district. Here's an example of how much each taxing entity collects. We pulled these numbers from a Bexar County property owner's real tax bill. This homeowner pays taxes to 7 entities: Bexar County Road and Flood, San Antonio River Authority, Alamo Community College, University Health System, Bexar County, Northside ISD, and Bexar County Emergency District Number 2. Each of these set their own tax rate. You'll see that most of the money goes toward the school district, more than $3,700. Let's turn now to ways that you could try to reduce that amount of money that you owe, starting with exemptions. So what are they? Exemptions reduce the market value of your property, which in turn lowers what you're required to pay in taxes. Bexar County offers the following exemptions for residential properties: general homestead, disabled veteran exemption, and an over 65 exemption. There are also other exemptions for commercial properties, but let's focus on residential tonight. One of the exemptions you have probably heard a lot about is the homestead exemption. So let's talk about how that works. If your home is valued at $150,000 and you qualify for a $25,000 exemption, you would only pay taxes on the home as if it were worth $125,000. Anyone can apply for this Bexar County exemption for their primary residential property. You have to fill out this form and turn it into the Bexar County Appraisal District. The exemption is applied to your bill for the rest of the time that you live at that address. The form is due by April 30th. The city of San Antonio offers the same residential exemptions and recently approved adding a homestead exemption for the very first time. San Antonio was the last major Texas city to implement a homestead exemption. Just a few weeks ago, the council approved an exemption of 0.01% of your home's value. A drop in the bucket for some, but the 2 councilmen who pushed for that exemption say it's a start.
There's a breaking point. People are angry. People are upset.
City Councilman Clayton Perry says rising property taxes are high on the list of complaints he hears from people living in District 10.
We need to pay attention to that and do something about that. And we can do something about that.
And so, with a proposal from Perry and District 9 Councilman John Courage, the city did. In June, the council approved that 0.01% homestead exemption. The city says it will average out to be about a $28 a year savings for San Antonio homeowners in the next tax year. Perry and Courage want to see more.
I don't think we could next year say we're going to reduce all of the residential property taxes by 20%. That would be a significant impact on our budget. What I favor is an implementation over a few years of a gradual increase in a homestead exemption up to 20%.
Courage also hopes the exemption could boost the number of homeowners in San Antonio. According to data from the Mayor's Housing Policy Task Force, from 2005 to 2016, just 12% of the city's new households purchased a home. 88% became renters.
I think that home ownership tends to promote more community involvement and people wanting and expecting more from their city government. And I think that's a good thing.
For those already owning a home, Perry believes an exemption will help them keep it.
Homeowners are saying that they need some help to keep them in their houses. And this is all part, to me, it's all part of our affordable housing program here in San Antonio. Let's offer a homestead exemption to make it affordable to stay in their houses where they're at.
The 0.01% homestead exemption will take roughly $6 million from the city's total budget for the next fiscal year. Meanwhile, the city of San Antonio is reviewing how the Bexar County Appraisal District operates. City council members asked for that review in light of soaring property taxes. That review will also look at how appraisal districts work in other Texas counties. Here's what Councilman Courage says that they are looking for.
See if there's a consistency, I think, in what the methodology is and the process is, and make sure that we're following that same kind of consistent pattern. And if there's something unusual or unique in another part of the state that can help us improve our system, then maybe that's something else we can adopt along with the procedures that we use here now.
The report on that review is supposed to be given to the council in September. An exemption is one way to save money on your property, but there's another way. Dispute the value of your home if you disagree with it. Here's how you file an appeal. You have to fill out this form. It's called a notice of protest. The deadline for filing a protest is midnight on May 15th. The form arrives in the mail along with your notice of appraised value, which is sent out in April. You can either do an informal hearing with an appraiser or a formal hearing in front of an appraisal review board. Both hearings require you to bring evidence showing why you believe your property isn't worth as much as it was appraised for. That evidence can include the appraised value of other homes in your neighborhood that are comparable to your house, pictures or recent estimates of internal or external damage. Again, Bexar County Appraisal District encourages people to file a protest, so don't be frightened by the process. And let's turn now to changes that came out of this legislative session. Property tax reform was a top priority, and the legislature finally made a move at the state level. Now the question is, what are those changes, and what do they mean for you and the city you live in? Courtney Friedman spoke to the executive editor of the Texas Tribune, who said a lot has to do with transparency.
Years in the making, property tax reform has finally been signed into state law. The reform comes in several pieces.
The first one is that cities and counties who want to raise their taxes, their tax revenues from property taxes more than 3.5% have to ask voters first. School districts have to ask at 2.5%.
Texas Tribune executive editor Ross Ramsey explains that does not mean changing your rates.
If they limited your tax rate, then your taxes could still go up because of property value increases if your property got more valuable. So instead of doing that, they just limit the amount of money that a particular government can bring in from property taxes and say if that amount of money goes up more than 3.5%, and it's not due to growth in the district, but it's due to either higher tax rates or higher property appraisals, then they have to ask voters if it's okay to spend that money.
The answer is they have to live within your means as the taxpayer.
Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick says it's bringing the public into the decision-making process much earlier. Current law didn't allow voters to get involved until tax revenues were increased 8%. So 3.5% is a big drop. That was one point of tension during the legislative process.
But when you go to cities and counties, especially in fast-growing areas, they say, look, we have to keep up with growth for streets, for police, for fire, for all of these things. And a really low number, a really low limit on our ability to raise the money to pay for the things that people need is going to make it hard to do those things and hard to serve people in the way that they want to be served.
On the other side,
there are some places where these taxes just aren't growing that fast, or where people are so conservative that the local officials have just said, you know, put us under the limit, we don't mind.
Because the bottom line is these percentages don't mean the money will automatically be spent. It just means when the entity wants to spend that money, they have to ask for the public's permission. School districts will prompt voter approval at an even smaller rate, 2.5%. And that's because half their funding comes from the state.
So if they limit the local ability to raise money, the state government steps up with the money, and so they felt like they were safe doing it.
The next piece of reform was praised by all. It mandates more transparency, clearing up confusion for taxpayers.
A thing that'll go on your bill that'll say basically, here's what your rate is now, here's what it would be under what they proposed, and here's the level at which you get to involve yourself as a voter in this thing.
Ramsey calls the reform package a work in progress. Progress being the key word.
This is a very complex area, and I'm sure they're going to find something that they go whoops and come back in 2021 and try to fix. The idea here is that voters can watch it more carefully and control it a little bit better, and we'll see as we go forward how well that actually works.
It's also important to mention a caveat in this reform that helps smaller rural areas, where 2.5% or 3.5% of revenue is a tiny number, not near enough to buy something like a new fire truck. In those cases, there is a $500,000 limit that a small entity would be able to spend without asking voter approval. But if they exceed $500,000, it goes on the ballot.
All right, we know this was a lot of information on a rather dense topic, so we have put all of this on our website. Every story that you saw on property taxes tonight is on our website. Just go to ksat.com/news@9 and click on the property taxes section. There is still more ahead. Tonight we've shown you what you can expect from our digital show, KSAT News at 9. After the break, we'll also give you a look at what else you can find on the KSAT TV app. That's in just a few minutes.
My mother and grandmother had really bad varicose veins. I started noticing mine. After my daughter was born, they just kept getting worse.
My friend Bianca said, I'm going to take you to lunch. She thought we were going for margaritas, but instead, I took her to Medical Vein Clinic.
If you have varicose veins, your risk for blood clots increases 5 times. Medical Vein Clinic fixed my veins, and I'm amazed at my legs now. But Bianca still owes me a margarita.
Call Medical Vein Clinic at 210-622-8000 to schedule your free screening today.
In 2010, we opened Morgan's Wonderland. In 2017, we opened Morgan's Inspiration Island. And in 2020, this beautiful 100 acres will become Morgan's Wonderland Camp, an ultra-accessible recreational oasis. This dream come true for all ages and all abilities to experience camp activities is fueled by compassion, fueled by inclusion, and fueled by its founding partner, Valero Energy. Together, we are making a difference.
At Atlas Floors Carpet One, you'll find durable floor coverings that'll beautify your home for years to come. Now during our Red Tag flooring sale, save on luxury vinyl, hardwood, tile, and more. Plus save up to 50% on Relaxed sleeves, a carpet like no other with a 25-year no-exclusion stain warranty. Look for the red tags and find your dream floor during our Red Tag flooring sale. Atlas Floors Carpet One, making homes beautiful since 1948. Great floors, done right.
Tonight we've given you a taste of what you can expect Monday through Friday here on KSAT News at 9. But as we've mentioned, we're a digital newscast, and most days you can't watch us on ABC. Sarah Spivey breaks down the ways that you can tune in.
KSAT's News at 9 is our first all-digital show produced by KSAT. What does all digital mean? It means that you can watch it without a cable subscription in 3 different ways. So let's say you're out of town and you want to keep up with the local news and weather, or you're calling it a day and sitting in bed with your smartphone. You can watch KSAT's News at 9 by going to our KSAT News app and live streaming it right there. Or if you don't even have a smartphone or want another way to watch it, you can do that on your desktop computer or your laptop by going to ksat.com and clicking live streaming, which will be at the top of the page. Now the third way to watch KSAT's News at 9 is by utilizing a streaming device. There are all kinds of streaming devices, but I'm going to show you how to set up 3 of them. 3 of the most popular streaming devices are Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire Stick or Fire TV. All of these streaming devices will come with a set of instructions that are very easy to follow, but there are typically 3 things that you need to start streaming. First is an internet connection, like Wi-Fi. The second would be a power source, like this cable here, and an HDMI cord, like this cable here. And again, most of these streaming devices come with this and specific instructions, and modern TVs are usually equipped to handle streaming devices as well. The next step is installing the KSAT TV app to those streaming devices, and that looks different for each device. You'll go to their app store, which looks like this. Click the App Store, and then all you gotta do is type in KSAT, which I already did, click the KSAT TV app, and then all you have to do is simply push install. You'll go to this little search icon to the left. Once again, all you have to do is type in or even say KSAT, and just select KSAT there, and then once you do that, you'll see once again, it's usually the first app that pops up. Just go down to search on the left-hand side, and once again, you'll just type in KSAT, and there you go. On the right, it is the first thing that pops up.
All right, so now you know how you can watch the news at 9 on a typical weeknight, but there's more than just news on the KSAT TV app. You can also find what we call KSAT Originals. For example, a hilarious cooking show with a local chef, or San Antonio Sipsters, which highlights what's brewing in our local coffee scene. Here's a quick look at the KSAT Originals that you can find right now on the KSAT TV app.
What we're doing here at Corazones on Fire, painting with the cultural edges, we're lighting the fire in the hearts of new artists to give them a healing, creative experience.
It's really hilarious sometimes because they'll leave dancing, like you know they're feeling good. So they leave saying things like, you know, I'm gonna continue to make art, I'm gonna come here every week, you know, every month, or I wanna bring back my mom, my abuelita, I'm gonna bring my partner, my boyfriend, my girlfriend.
People like wieners and eggs. You know, we're not wieners and corn. You need a can of corn. You can buy corn at the store, but I don't know if you want to be with those people that are there, pulling the husk back, seeing if it's good, putting it back, you know, because if not, you're there for another 20 minutes trying to figure out. You get this, you know, be bougie, get the expensive corn if you want to, right? It never fails. Like, I go to the kitchen, what's in my fridge? One damn wiener, left in all that weird juice, right? She buys wieners for the dogs, right? And there's always like one, I'm like, yeah, that's mine. And the most important thing is you get a beef wiener. The beef ones are good. You get the pork if you want, but the beef is the best. Make sure their pan is big enough. Like, I hope my wiener fits in this pan because, oh, it does. Perfect.
In the past 5 years, the coffee scene here has exploded.
It's a growing scene.
There's been an explosion of all these new coffee shops.
It's as yet to become what it is.
My name is Ray Cabello, and I was born and raised here in San Antonio. And my day job is essentially designing tools and websites, you know, for the internet. And a passion of mine that I do outside of that is collecting rare soul 45s, specifically from the 50s and 60s, and even more specific than that, around the San Antonio, Central Texas, South Texas region. That's been a big focus of mine for, I would say, 12, 13 years.
Another incredible feature on the KSAT TV app is Conviction. It is the first ever KSAT documentary series. This 6-part series tells the story of the notorious murder of San Antonio's bingo king, Eddie Garcia, and investigates the conviction of the man now in prison for that crime. Our Isis Romero, Dylan Collier, and Ivan Herrera give us a look behind the scenes of the making of Conviction.
Conviction is a multi-part documentary series that takes a look at the 1998 murder of Eddie Garcia and the subsequent conviction the following year of James Legate. Unlike traditional documentaries, this one is an investigation, and so it does more than just retell the story. We actually investigate a lot of the people, a lot of the players that were a big part of this case.
I think you could find other murder cases, even high-profile ones, and that happened decades ago, 15 years ago, look back at them. And I think in most of those cases, you would be okay with how it was handled. Was it thoroughly investigated? Was the right person brought to trial? Did they look at all the evidence that was available? I think with the Garcia murder, very early on, you're going to see that this was not investigated as thoroughly as it could have been.
When you were researching this project, tell me something about the research and what it entailed.
A lot of the research was kind of done in phases. The first part was getting acquainted with the case, which entailed just going over and reading volumes of trial transcripts. There was also, obviously making contact with a lot of the folks who were involved in the case, and then physically going to the scene. I still remember the day that we all went out there and how important that was for us to just kind of get some perspective. All of those things kind of helped us get a better understanding prior to even starting the investigation of what we were looking at.
I thought this would have been the back of the complex, far removed from...
This case also had a lot of moving parts, a lot of people in it. Did you ever feel overwhelmed? What were some of the things, the challenges of so much information, just so many people involved in this?
It is a very complicated case, and a lot of the moving parts are outside of the courtroom and were sort of in play, both before the shooting happened and then long after the shooting happened.
So tell me about James Legate and when you went to go visit him in prison. How many times did you go visit him? What were some of those encounters like?
There was a total of 3 visits. I didn't really have a preconceived notion going in of who I thought he would be and what I thought he would be like. I just wanted to keep an open mind. I got the sense that he was being honest with me in our first encounter. Our first interview was more so I could understand some of the details of the story and then kind of get a read of him. And so going to a prison in and of itself can sometimes be an intimidating task, but I think I felt at ease speaking to him, and I felt like he was being honest and real with us.
It's the most at ease I've ever felt in a prison environment. He's very strong in his words. He believes what he's saying. And I think, conviction sort of applies to his thoughts on what happened to him and how he feels all these years later. He has conviction in his heart that he was wrongly prosecuted and that the full story is not out there. And I think that comes across when you talk to him.
You also have a chance to watch Conviction right here on KSAT 12. It will air Tuesday at 8 p.m. or you can watch it when you want. You can find all 6 episodes of Conviction right now on our website at ksat.com/conviction or on our streaming app, KSAT TV. We'll be right back.
The night beat. The day isn't over.
It'd be a very tense situation. Folks, this is live.
It's what's happening right now.
He heard the shots and ran for cover.
She was not allowed to record video or take pictures.
More investigations.
Crooks to break into a bar, then drive off with a whole ATM.
You have no idea how long employees were exposed.
More stories affecting you.
This will be a major traffic nightmare.
Working to bring you more.
Night is not over just yet.
The Night Beat.
In 2010, we opened Morgan's Wonderland. In 2017, we opened Morgan's Inspiration Island. And in 2020, this beautiful 100 acres will become Morgan's Wonderland Camp, an ultra-accessible recreational oasis. This dream come true for all ages and all abilities to experience camp activities is fueled by compassion, fueled by inclusion, and fueled by its founding partner, Valero Energy. Together, we are making a difference.
Hello, I'm Guy Vick, General Manager of Mercedes-Benz of San Antonio, welcoming you to the A-List.
When it comes to the luxury buying experience, no one does it better. Right now, you can drive home a brand new 2019 C300 with a starting MSRP of $49,355, or become the proud new owner of a new 2019 CLS 450.
Thanks for watching this special edition of KSAT News at 9. Remember, the show doesn't usually air on KSAT 12. We stream Monday through Friday on the KSAT TV app or on KSAT.com. We'll see you tomorrow. I'm Myra Arthur. The Night Beat starts now.